Every 36 seconds, a divorce petition is filed. Each year, tens of thousands of couples end up in court, which means that for every 3 marriages, one ends in separation. In large cities, the numbers are even more striking. For roughly every 2.7 marriages, there is one divorce. These are not just cold statistics. They are stories, broken dreams, shattered hearts, and perhaps this is also your story. If you feel the pain tearing through your chest like a real physical wound, it is not your imagination. Modern neuroscience has confirmed that the emotional pain of separation and heartbreak activates the very same regions of the brain responsible for physical pain. In other words, the pain you feel is absolutely real. Moreover, your brain is undergoing a kind of withdrawal syndrome. When we are in love, the brain is bathed in a powerful chemical cocktail of dopamine and oxytocin, creating feelings of euphoria and bonding. When love is lost, this supply is abruptly cut off, triggering symptoms similar to drug withdrawal, obsessive thoughts, restlessness, insomnia, and a powerful craving to regain your dose. The combination of universal statistics and scientific validation of personal soul suffering points to one undeniable truth. You are not alone in this experience, and your pain is completely legitimate. And it is precisely because of this truth that we must seek a path through it. But what if this devastating experience is not a failure, but a profound awakening, though one born of deep pain? What if this storm has not come to drown you, but to wash everything clean, clearing the way for a new beginning? For over 2,500 years, Buddhist wisdom has offered such a path, not one that avoids this pain, but one that transforms it. The Buddha's teachings provide a map to navigate through the storm, not by fighting against the waves, but by learning the art of surfing them. This video is that map. Together we will explore ancient teachings, the wisdom of modern masters, and practical tools validated by science to understand that letting go is not about losing something. It is about reclaiming your own freedom. Stay with us as we discover how this ending can become your most powerful beginning. Before prescribing any remedy, a great physician must first diagnose the illness. The Buddha, often called the Great Physician, approached human suffering in exactly this way. His foundational teaching, the Four Noble Truths, is not a set of religious dogmas, but a timeless diagnostic framework for the pains of human life. The first noble truth is dukkha, the truth of suffering. This is the recognition of the symptoms. The Buddha taught, birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering, separation from what is loved is suffering. Divorce is one of the most poignant and painful expressions of this suffering, dukkha of separation. The second noble truth is samudaya, the truth of the cause of suffering. This is the diagnosis. At the root of all suffering, according to the Buddha, is tanha, or craving. It is the thirst, the clinging, the attachment. Our desperate grasping onto a person, memories, an unfulfilled future, or an idea of happiness fuels and magnifies our pain. The third noble truth is nirodha, the truth of the cessation of suffering. This is the prognosis. The Buddha assures us that liberation from suffering is possible. Peace and nirvana are real. The fourth noble truth is magga, the truth of the path leading to the end of suffering. This is the prescription, a set of practices that we will explore throughout the rest of this video. One of the Buddha's most profound diagnoses of suffering lies in our misunderstanding of the nature of reality. We suffer because we build our happiness upon what we mistakenly believe to be permanent. The core teaching of anicca, or impermanence, reveals that everything in the universe, from a star to a thought, is in constant change. Marriage and love, like all conditioned phenomena, are subject to this natural law. They have a beginning, a flourishing, and inevitably an end. Our pain does not come from change itself, but from our resistance to it. It is as if we built a house on a glacier, believing it to be solid rock, only to collapse in despair when spring comes and the ice begins to melt. Tibetan Buddhist teacher Pedran expressed this wisdom beautifully. Everything comes together and falls apart. Healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Radical acceptance of impermanence is not passive resignation, but the first and most crucial step toward peace. If impermanence shatters our illusion of the external world, then the teaching of anatta, or non-self, goes deeper still, breaking our greatest illusion, the belief in a solid, unchanging I and mind. We are not a fixed noun, but a verb in motion, not a thing, but a process. In the Water Foam Sutra, Fina Sutta, the Buddha used poetic and powerful imagery to describe the 5 aggregates, skandhas, that we mistakenly take to be the self. Form, the body, like a lump of foam, appearing solid but in reality hollow. Feeling, sensation, like a water bubble, arising and bursting in an instant. Perception, recognition, like a mirage in the desert, seemingly real but merely a play of light. Mental formations, will, volition, like the layers of a banana tree, which reveal no solid core when peeled back. Consciousness, awareness, like a magic trick, a fleeting illusion that deceives the senses. Applied to the pain of divorce, this teaching gives us a radically new perspective. The person we think we have lost was never a solid, eternal entity, but simply a collection of these ever-changing aggregates. Likewise, the self that suffers in anguish is itself nothing more than the same. Divorce pain, seen through this lens, is grief over the collapse of 2 illusions that we desperately tried to make permanent. After exposing the illusions of permanence and self, we arrive at a striking metaphor from the Gadula Sutta, Sutta of the Chain, to describe how we behave in suffering. The Buddha compared an untrained person to a dog tied to a post. The post is the 5 aggregates, body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness that we mistakenly believe to be me and mine. The chain is craving, our clinging attachment, tanha. No matter how the dog runs, it can only circle the post. In the same way, we may think we are trying to move on, but in reality our mind only circles around memories, blame, regrets, fantasies of reunion, and stories of fault. We are chained by our very clinging. The path to freedom is not running faster, farther, or trying to break the chain by force. It is calmly turning inward, recognizing that the post is nothing but impermanent aggregates, and the chain is a creation of the mind. With this wisdom, we can gently untie the knot. Moving from conceptual frameworks like the Four Noble Truths to the core insights of impermanence and non-self, and finally to these vivid metaphors, allows us not only to understand, but to feel the roots of our suffering, preparing the ground for true healing. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood concepts. We often think of it as an act of will, a forced renunciation. But as Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh taught, genuine letting go does not come from struggle. It is the natural fruit of insight. We cannot force ourselves to release a burning coal if we still believe it is a precious gem. The practice is to look deeply into the object of our clinging. When we clearly see its impermanence and the suffering it brings, letting go happens naturally, without effort. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The more you let go, the more spacious your heart becomes." Letting go is not loss, it is space. Space to heal, to breathe, and to welcome new possibilities into your life. Perhaps no story illustrates the transformative power of divorce more than the life of Pema Chodron. Before becoming one of the most respected Tibetan Buddhist nuns, she was Deirdre Blomfield Brown, an American woman who endured 2 broken marriages. It was her second divorce, when her husband suddenly confessed to an affair, that plunged her into what she called a groundless moment. From the depths of that pain, she found the spiritual path. Her core teaching is not about escaping suffering, but about courageously turning toward it. She urges us, feel the feelings, drop the story. Instead of patching up a broken heart to make it as it once was, she invites us to live with a broken, open heart. Such a heart is not a sign of weakness or failure, but of having shattered the rigid shell of ego. It becomes soft, vulnerable, and thus capable of limitless compassion for oneself and for all beings. It is a heart that is truly alive, fully embracing the impermanent, chaotic, yet beautiful nature of life. The meeting point between Buddhist wisdom and modern psychology has produced profoundly effective healing methods. Psychologist and meditation teacher Dr. Tara Brach embodies this synthesis. She introduced the concept of radical acceptance as a path to healing deep wounds. Radical acceptance has 2 wings: mindfulness and compassion. Mindfulness is the ability to clearly recognize what we are feeling in the present moment. Compassion is the ability to hold that experience with kindness. Tara Brach herself turned to this practice when her own marriage ended. During a meditation retreat, she was overwhelmed by fear of the future and dread of change. Rather than analyze or suppress those emotions, she practiced loving-kindness meditation, offering well wishes to herself and surrendering to the waves of feeling. By not resisting, she allowed the waves of fear and sadness to wash through her. This brought her peace and even allowed her to maintain a kind and enduring friendship with her ex-husband. Stories of clinging and letting go are not new. They have been told for millennia in the Jataka tales of the Buddha's past lives. The Bandhanamokkha Jataka, number 120, is a striking example. A king, out of love, granted his queen a vow that he would never look at another woman with affection. But when he left for war, the queen abused this vow, coercing 64 of the king's messengers into affairs. When the Bodhisattva, then serving as the king's counselor, refused her, she became enraged and falsely accused him. This tale warns of the destructive power of unchecked craving, kamatanta. The queen's clinging to desire and her refusal to accept rejection wove a net of lies and suffering that nearly cost an innocent man his life. Only the Bodhisattva's wisdom and calmness revealed the truth, showing that purity and non-attachment are the path to freedom from the chains of delusion. Placing modern teachers who endured divorce alongside ancient tales like this reveals a profound truth. The struggle with craving and attachment and the liberating wisdom of letting go has always been a universal human journey. Ancient Buddhist wisdom increasingly resonates with modern science, especially in psychotherapy. Acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, a third-wave psychological approach, bears striking parallels to the Dharma. Both begin with the same premise: suffering is inevitable. Attempts to avoid or suppress negative thoughts and emotions, what ASAT calls experiential avoidance, often make matters worse. Instead, the goal is to cultivate psychological flexibility, the capacity to accept what lies beyond control, and to commit to actions aligned with one's deepest values. The first noble truth, dukkha, suffering is natural, parallels asati's premise of inevitable pain. The second noble truth, samudaya, craving as the cause, parallels Axe concepts of cognitive fusion and experiential avoidance. The fourth noble truth, magga, the path of practice, parallels ACT's 6 core processes: acceptance, diffusion, present moment awareness, observing self, values, and committed action. This connection is not merely theoretical. Neuroscientific studies using fMRI technology have shown that practicing loving kindness and compassion meditation can significantly alter brain activity. It enhances regions associated with empathy, emotional regulation, and interoceptive awareness, such as the insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. This means we can literally train our brains to become more resilient, more compassionate, and less reactive to the pain of heartbreak. Based on the principles we have discussed, here are 7 practical guidelines, a compass to help you navigate divorce with peace and dignity. Let go to move forward. Non-attachment. Release the need to control outcomes. Accept that love may transform and form. Be present in each moment. Mindfulness. Instead of worrying about the future or regretting the past, focus on what is unfolding right now. This clarity helps you make wiser choices. Send loving intentions. Compassion. Practice loving kindness toward yourself and your former partner. This is not about excusing wrongs, but freeing yourself from the poison of resentment. Act with integrity, karma. Every action you take today plants seeds for tomorrow. Choose fairness and honesty for the sake of your own inner peace. Embrace impermanence, acceptance. Stop resisting the reality that everything changes. Like the seasons, relationships have their own cycles. Avoid extremes, the middle way. Don't idolize or demonize your ex-partner. See the situation in balance, acknowledging both light and shadow. Recognize suffering as part of life, samsara. Understand this experience as one chapter in a larger journey, a lesson that can bring wisdom rather than only wounds. When emotional waves rise, anchor yourself. The simplest and most effective anchor is your breath. Sit comfortably with a straight back, close your eyes. Bring attention to the sensation of the breath as it enters through your nose and leaves. Do not control it, simply observe. When the mind wanders, gently return it to the breath. Just a few minutes of practice can restore stability amidst the storm. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. To dissolve it, we practice loving kindness meditation, metta. First, direct kindness to yourself. Silently repeat, may I be safe, may I be happy, May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Next, bring to mind someone you love and send them the same wishes. Finally, and this is the hardest yet most liberating step, visualize partner. See them as another human being who also suffers in their own way. Send them those same blessings. May you be safe. May you be happy. This is not forgiveness in the sense of condoning, but freedom for your own heart. When your former partner finds new happiness, jealousy may arise. The antidote is to practice sympathetic joy, mudita, a genuine delight in the happiness of others. This noble practice transforms envy into joy. To face the ups and downs of post-divorce life, the praise and blame, gains and losses, we cultivate equanimity, upekkha. It is the calm balance of mind that remains steady amid the 8 worldly winds, gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Yet it is crucial to distinguish these virtues from their near enemies, mental states that resemble them outwardly, but are in truth their opposites. Virtues, brahmaviharas, loving kindness, metta. This is unconditional goodwill, the sincere wish for all beings to be happy. Far enemy, ill will, the direct opposite of loving kindness. One seeks to bring happiness, the other seeks to cause harm. Near enemy, conditional love attachment, far more dangerous because it resembles kindness. Conditional love is possessive, defined by mine, for me. When conditions are not met, it easily turns into anger. Compassion, karuna, the wish for all beings to be free from suffering. Far enemy, cruelty, not only refusing to help, but actively wishing to inflict pain. Near enemy, pity, looks similar to compassion but comes from superiority, condescension, or simply negative emotion. It does not lead to meaningful action and can even weaken the other person. Sympathetic joy, mudita, genuine gladness in the success and happiness of others. Far enemy, jealousy, completely opposite, rooted in discomfort and pain at another's success. Near enemy, false exuberance, hypocrisy, feigned joy, excessive excitement that does not arise from compassion or joy expressed merely for appearances. Equanimity, upekkha, a state of calm balance, unshaken by gain or loss, praise or blame, pleasure or pain. Far enemy, craving and aversion, desire and hatred drag the mind out of balance, preventing equanimity. Near enemy, indifference, a cold withdrawal from life, easily mistaken for equanimity. True equanimity still cares, but without clinging or being swayed by outcomes. For example, the near enemy of equanimity is indifference. Indifference is a fearful retreat from life, whereas equanimity is full engagement with an open, non-judgmental heart. Understanding this subtle distinction is the key to practicing correctly and gaining true benefit. Writing as self-therapy. Writing is a powerful form of healing. Take time to dialogue with yourself through the page. Here are a few prompts to begin with. On impermanence. What am I still clinging to from the past? How would it feel to fully accept that this chapter of my life is over? On non-self. Write about one quality I admired in my ex and one quality that brought difficulty. Can I view both as impermanent conditions rather than fixed aspects of a permanent person? On compassion. What kinds of suffering might my ex be carrying in their own way? Write a letter that you won't send, expressing understanding of their pain. On gratitude. What lessons has this relationship taught me, even through its pain? What am I grateful for from this experience? By equipping yourself with a diverse toolkit, from scientific insights, guiding principles, and guided practices, to self-healing tools like journaling, you create a comprehensive path of healing. This allows you not only to overcome crisis, but to truly rebuild your life. We began this journey with the cold reality of statistics and the raw ache of heartbreak. We walked through the Buddha's diagnosis that our suffering does not arise from divorce itself, but from our own clinging to illusions of permanence and a solid self. We listened to modern teachers who transformed their own pain into a path, showing us that the way out is not by fleeing the storm, but by finding stillness in its very heart. Letting go is not a confession of defeat. It is the supreme act of strength and love for oneself. It is the acceptance that some things cannot be in order to make space for what can. The pain of this experience is the mud, the wisdom, compassion, and newfound freedom you uncover. That is the lotus flower. You are not broken. You are being reborn. If this journey into the heart of Dharma wisdom has brought you even a spark of peace or a new perspective, please help us spread these teachings. Click like on this video, share it with someone going through their own storm, and subscribe to Dharma Wisdom Stories to continue exploring the art of wise living. May you be free from suffering. May you find peace.